Go live. Hello, everyone. My name is Tholi Makapela, but you can call me Zoli. I am ImageAppeal's communications and social media strategist. And today, welcome to the webcast of Astrology in Design. It is hard to announce my guest. She has done everything except go to the moon. She is a highly skilled profession with her own marketing campaign, broadcasting from the land of packaging design. And we've convinced her to come today, to come and talk to us, to come and chat with us, and to grant us with her presence. Ladies and gentlemen, creators from all around the world, please give an astounding welcome to Kim.
Thank you so much, Zoli. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you perfectly. Can you hear me?
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen now. So give me 1 second so I can bring up the presentation. Let's see.
Aha, there we go. There we go.
Fantastic. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about how astrological symbols and designs can be used by those in the creative space to enhance products and packaging. I'm also going to touch upon what designers should think about when they want to apply an astrological theme to a design. So why we're having this discussion in the first place is because astrology has seen a recent spike in interest, at least in the English-speaking countries. In fact, the zodiac and astrological imagery can be found just about everywhere. For instance, here's a photo of the Albertine bookstore in New York City, where they've painted the entire zodiac wheel, the planets, and even a comet or two flying through the night sky on their ceiling, which is just
absolutely stunning.
Yeah, and here's an example of an astrological clock that's been built right into the side of a building in London, England. So you'll see zodiac signs all over architecture as well. We also find designs of the night sky and the constellations through the world of fashion, such as these Converse sneakers that we use every day to get us from our home to the park and back.
Fashionable, might I add.
Oh, yes. And references to the zodiac, of course, can be found in the digital space as well. For instance, we all love memes, and references to our star signs are everywhere on social media.
True.
Of course, we also have to mention the thousands of astrologers who are providing readings on YouTube or creating videos outlining the differences between zodiac personality traits on TikTok or Instagram. And if you're like me, you may even be a little addicted to these. But before we start our discussion about how astrological symbols are used in the world of design, I think it makes sense first to outline the 3 most popular forms of astrology, and that would be Vedic, Chinese, and Western. Now, one of the earliest forms of astrology, Vedic, was developed by the astronomers and mystics in India about 5,000 years ago. These mystics not only mapped the heavens, but they also were the first ones to place meanings to the various positions of the planets, stars, and comets. Vedic astrology is actually based on the position of the stars in what's called a sidereal zodiac, where the term sider means stars. In other words, the planets and the sun's position are calculated against the constellations that are fixed in the night sky. Then around, hold on 1 sec. There we go. Then around 3,000 years ago, the Chinese developed their own system of astrology. They base theirs on a lunar and solar cycle where each cycle is characterized by either a male or female property, which is like yin or yang, the 5 elements of wood, fire, earth, metal, and water, and the 12 zodiac signs, each represented by a different animal. In Chinese astrology, each person has a sign based on their birth date and year, and each year has its own sign as well. So for instance, this year, 2023, is the year of the female property of yin, the element of water, and the sign of the rabbit. And like all zodiacs, there are traits associated with all of these properties. So I'm not going to discuss the meaning of these elements or animals today, but you can certainly do your own research online to find out more if you're so inclined. In comparison, Western astrology is based on what's called a tropical zodiac, where the constellations and planets are compared to where the Earth is located in the cosmos. This type of astrology was written down or codified in about the 2nd century AD by the Egyptian king Ptolemy. He, however, had based his theories on much older Greek and Babylonian astrological traditions. From an astrological standpoint, the constellations and planets that make up the tropical zodiac of Western astrology all lie in a belt-shaped region of the sky that extends about 8 degrees north and south, like you see here in this illustration. Now, a way to visualize how Western astrology compares to Vedic and the actual placement of the constellations in the night sky, here's a good chart. If you can't read the chart well, the red ring, outer red ring, represents where the constellations are actually positioned. The yellow ring shows how Vedic astrology interprets where the constellations are located, and the green is how Western astrologers interpret the location of the star clusters. Although you can see that the different symbols representing the 12 zodiac signs are close to each other in each of these rings, they are not all in the same location. That means that when you're getting your chart read, the results will vary based on the training of your astrologer, whether their training is Vedic or Western. However, I do want you to notice one thing, and that's that the planets and constellations are each represented by a unique symbol. For graphic designers listening in, this is one of the reasons why you might be so intrigued by astrology, because it's teeming with ornate graphic icons, each steeped in meaning that goes back thousands of years. In fact, the word zodiac is actually Greek for animal glyph. So just as logos today are used to give a brand or a company an easily recognizable identity through color, imagery, font selection, so too astrological symbols with their graphic representation of each zodiac design. So in case we wanted to get a closer view of the icons that are commonly used in astrology, here are the symbols that represent the 12 signs of the zodiac, as well as the planets. So now I would like to move from the mechanics of astrology to how the zodiac is characterized. For the sake of simplicity, I think I'm just going to be focusing on Western astrology from here on out. Western astrology, and of course to a large part Vedic and the Chinese systems as well, are based on the belief that the Earth, humanity, and the cosmos are all just one single organism. So astrologers believe that whatever happens in the sky directly affects us here on Earth. So according to astrologers, each of the 12 constellations represent 12 different personality types. Now, you're probably all familiar with this from reading your own horoscope over the years. But to give an example, for instance, I'm a Pisces. So in a general sense, people like myself, born under this sign, which is February and March, are considered to be sensitive, creative, and a little bit of a dreamer. Now, I'm not going to go into the meaning of these signs either, but I just wanted to remind you how interconnected astrology is to the characteristics of our personality. But that's not all. Each of the 12 signs of the zodiac are also divided into one of the 4 elements of fire, earth, water, and air, where fire and earth are seen as masculine and air and water feminine. So these two also include a series of characteristics. For instance, someone who's a Libra is part of a category that includes the other air signs of Gemini and Aquarius. And anyone born under these 3 signs, they are all considered to be creative, adventurous, fun. But the zodiac can also be characterized by color. Now, here's an example. Of course, if you look on the web, you'll see all sorts of different color charts for the 12 zodiac signs, but most of them are fairly consistent. In other words, Leo the lion, which is an earth sign, is usually connected to yellows and oranges, while Pisces the fish, a water sign, is usually represented by blues and purples. Now, what I most love about the zodiac from a psychological perspective is that its system of traits, elements, colors, and symbols, they all provide a deeper understanding about ourselves, our family and friends, and even our community and country. So by exploring the meaning behind the alignment of the stars or planets on a person's birth date, or even the start date of a company or the founding date of a nation, we can gain a deeper understanding about an individual and how they fit into the world. We also gain greater insight about ourselves, our motivations, our challenges, our struggles. And astrology also makes us feel as if we belong to a special group. That this group shares similar interests or traits. So it's no surprise that astrology has seen an uptick of interest over the past decade, and that astrological imagery seems to be almost ubiquitous. So before I move on to how we apply astrology to the world of product and packaging design, I wanted to ask if there were any questions at this point.
There was a couple of questions. We have one. Please, could you kindly repeat the store name, the library name rather, that you mentioned at the beginning?
Oh, yes, good question. If you look up, let's see, it is the Albertine Bookstore in New York City.
Got you. And well, we don't have any questions, but we do have comments that I would like to run through. We have at Roger Pryor 123. It says, Kim is out here coming with all knowledge that we have been deprived of. Kim, I think you have an admirer. I think you have an admirer.
And you know, astrology is such a deep topic that this is really just a very surface overview of the forms of astrology, the most popular forms of astrology. So there are all sorts of modes of divining, you know, the meaning behind the placement of the stars and planets. So, you know, I encourage anyone that's interested to do, you know, it doesn't take much to go on the internet and do your own research. But this will give you at least kind of a surface understanding.
I think I need to comment there. Dear creatives, we now know our history. We now know where we come from. Kim, you have admirers. You have admirers. Oh, we have a comment here. Please excuse my pronunciation from Homoto_Dikari, who says, under Pisces, you forgot the most important part, which is being creative. I think that speaks to Kim. I think that just described the entire career.
All
being
Pisces.
Creative.
Yes.
Being creative. And then we're going to take one more who's asking here, Kim. Kim, you gave us 3 examples of the different types of zodiacs to exist. Can you please give us a current zodiac system that you use? Oh, I think we're going to reserve that for later. You just ended us. I think we're going to reserve that for later. But
I'm happy to talk about that. Because these traditions are based on the country of origin,
yes.
Obviously people in the United States and Europe tend to use the Western zodiac more frequently. Folks in East Asia or India, the nations around India use Vedic. Chinese use Chinese. Or Asian, the Asian nations probably use the Chinese astrology more. So it's more regional than anything else, although I am aware that, there are quite a number of Vedic astrologers in the US. And this is there's a growing interest in Vedic astrology throughout North America and Europe at this point, as we become more and more of a global nation. Then we share all of this information with each other. And it's more, what you're comfortable with and what resonates with you personally. I just happen to know Western a little bit more because that's what I grew up with.
Got you. And I think, okay, we have one more that is coming here. It is I Love James. Oh, okay. Kim, you are a star. Thank you so much. What a great opening line. Please do not stop. Oh, Kim?
Awesome.
I think our boss just said it. Please do not stop enlightening us. Please do not stop enlightening us.
All right, so let's continue on if you're all set.
I am open. I am opening. On our social media pages, they are loving you. They are loving you.
Excellent. Okay, so next, let's take a look at how astrology is being applied to common everyday objects that we know and love. I'll then, after this, try to identify a few trends. So I'm also going to focus primarily on product and packaging for Western markets. So we'll be concentrating on the imagery from the Western or tropical zodiac. So obviously, if you're designing packaging for the Asian market, you'll probably want to use elements from the Chinese zodiac as reference. Or if you're from South Asia, or what we in the US call the Indian continent, then finding inspiration from Vedic astrological imagery may be more appropriate. So, okay, so as we discussed earlier, the zodiac is made up not only of a series of symbols, but it's also defined by colors, personality traits, and numbers. For instance, the zodiac is made up of 12 star signs, as we know. So one way where it makes sense to apply astrological imagery to a product or packaging is when there's a series of 12 products that vary either by color, style, smell, taste, or texture. So let's look at some examples. Okay, first up, here's a series of candles, presumably each with a different scent. So if you're a brand owner and you have a series of 12 differently scented products, you could easily connect each scent to one of the 12 signs of the zodiac. Of course, there's no hard and fast rules around astrology and smell, but you can make an educated guess. For instance, the smell of the sand and the sea might connect well with a water sign like Scorpio, whereas a more earthy scent, maybe something woodsy or like pine, might be appropriate for an earth sign like Taurus. The same logic would apply to perfumes or oils. Now, what I like about the Perfect Potion company that's shown here is that the brand owner has found a way to describe each of the 12 oils, not as an actual scent, but as one of the star signs' personality traits. For instance, the Capricorn oil blend seen in this photo is described as resilience. Now, I think this is really exciting because it gives you an opportunity to be selling this product, not just to people who happen to be born under the sign of Capricorn, but perhaps they're looking to become more resilient. And so they can then, utilize this oil in order to, encourage that trait within themselves. So by adding a descriptor on top of the name of the zodiac, or listing a personality trait or some of the personality traits, you open a product to a wider buying market.
That is a good one. Before you continue, Kim, I think your fans are now asking you, what would you describe a Pisces scent? Oh, wow.
Anything that is water or ocean is a slam dunk. So anything that evokes feelings of being around the water. So, there's if you think of candles, there are lots of candles scents out there right now that evoke feelings of being near the sea, and any of those would be appropriate for any of the water signs, but in particular Pisces. I wouldn't say fish though.
You wouldn't say that. You wouldn't dare say that. You wouldn't say that.
Okay, so of course, anything you can taste or eat also applies and can be categorized through the signs of the zodiac. So here's an example of how, a vineyard or a chocolate company have applied the zodiac to their packaging. So really, the sky's the limit in terms of the type of series, packaging, product series that you could apply astrological imagery to. Not surprisingly, colors can also be assigned to an individual star sign. Now, this makes a lot of sense in the beauty industry. As we see here, there's a series of 12 eyeshadow colors, where each one is designed with a different sign of the zodiac on the packaging. In fact, assigning a zodiac sign to a series of 12 products not only provides some flexibility with the design, but it's also a really easy way to make the series feel like it's part of a cohesive family of products. So it also provides buyers with a personalized buying experience. So just think about how fun it is to buy something that's branded with your personal zodiac sign, which would theoretically mean that it's relevant to only 1/12 of the population. So, but of course, this isn't true necessarily about any given product. For instance, any of these colors would be, anyone might be interested in them, but it does give the sense that the product was made specifically with you in mind.
Yes. Making the brand.
And so here we see the Pisces at the top with the bright blue aqua color. Again, the feeling of the ocean. And as someone who loves water, I'd be very, I would find that a very appealing color to purchase. But there is something else. it gives the buyer, by using like astrological symbols on a series like this, it gives the buyer the feeling that they're part of a select community of people who share their likes, dislikes, and their preferences. In other words, it gives the buyer a feeling of inclusion and that they are special and unique. So this is a rare thing in the world of marketing, where you can include people, that they feel special from an individual perspective, but they also feel included in a greater, wider community. But you may say, okay, well, that's great, but there's not a lot of product series out there that have 12 specific products. So what do you do when there's a series of, let's say, 4 products? Well, that's easy. If you have a series of 4 products, then you can pull from the earth, air, fire, water side of the zodiac. In the same way, you can create designs for a series of 3 products by, let's say, focusing on the sun, moon, and stars, or 2 products with sun and moon. In other words, by being creative, you should be able to find a way to incorporate astrological designs in any number of product series. But let's say that you have a grouping of products that you'd like to apply an astrological theme, but each already has its own branded design. So what do you do then? Well, you can create a themed package or box to address this challenge. For instance, you could create a box of items that all have the same color theme and relate it to one of the signs of the zodiac, perhaps based on the month that's mailed out. For instance, this box features mostly yellow packaging or product designs. Now, granted, this is geared towards Leo, obviously, but you could theoretically just find a product that has yellow or orange packaging, use the yellow tissue paper to support it. And if it's mailed out in the month of August, which is the main month of Leo, then you are creating a cohesive experience that doesn't require that each product be branded with a similar design. So the designs can all be radically different, but you're tying them together with a color. And you're also tying it to astrology by the month, perhaps, that it's mailed out.
Stunning, stunning.
Now, of course, if we're looking for theme ideas specifically for a subscription box, the zodiac of the birth date of the subscriber makes a lot of sense. So you could also print the shipping box with the astrological sign as well. But here's an example where no doubt this company is sending as a subscription box company, and they're sending out Libra-oriented product to someone on their birthday that happens to be in Libra, in the sign of Libra. But, what if you have one product and you're looking to embellish just one product with an astrological symbol? Well, obviously, you're not going to want to put a zodiac sign on just one product, because then you're completely limiting your audience base. Rather, you're going to want to put a more generic astrological image, one that maybe includes all the constellations or all the signs of the zodiac. So let's take look at a few examples of what other folks have done along these lines. For instance, here's a t-shirt design that shows the zodiac wheel, where the signs are all represented graphically rather than being spelled out. Here are a few more images of product embellished with the constellations. Again, notice how these product designs are generic enough to be of interest to not only anyone who loves astrology, but also those who just like watching the night sky. So there are some opportunities to apply astrological symbols and designs to product that are not going to be limiting your audience or your target market.
Gotcha.
Now, here's one of my favorites, which is a rubber ducky covered in astrological zodiac signs. Now, keep in mind, it's pretty interesting that a third of the population actually believes in astrology. Less than a third, actually. I think it's 29%. So if you're creating packaging, labels, or designs for a new age brand, then astrological embellishments won't diminish your potential base of buyers. But if you're embellishing products that are outside the new age market, such as a rubber ducky, you'll want to target the marketing efforts on this much smaller community, right? So you need to keep in mind who your buyer is, and if the product is a general product, to promote it and market it, you'll want to find those people within your wider target audience, those specifically who are into astrology or new age or something like that. Okay, does anyone have any questions at this point?
Well, I was picking up that a lot of our designers, our community is very upset. I saw a question that wasn't a comment. Someone had said that you have basically turned their business plan and informed 99.99 and the 9 continues in regards to their business plan. And we have other comments. We have Colleen who's saying, thanks, Kim. I didn't know what to buy my wife for her birthday. Thank you for that. I needed that. Yeah, but what don't you do? You are a creative. You are saving people's marriages. You are doing the absolute most. We then have a couple of questions here. They go much more deeper. They're saying that, well, how can you incorporate those 4, which is they list them, earth, fire, wind and water into a fashion statement? Ooh, okay.
Well, I'm not in the fashion world, so someone who's into fashion could probably address that. But no doubt if you had think of the seasons. We have 4 seasons. True. So you could easily apply, let's say, a water-like design to one of the seasons, and maybe a winter, because winter you tend to have a lot of blues, right? So water may relate to the season of winter, where fire would be summer. So you could develop fashioned around the reds and oranges from the fire side of astrology, with an outfit that's specifically for summer.
True, because I was actually about to add there. I think I loved the last example where you said, you know what, even if you're selling one specific product, you don't have to limit yourself to one specific zodiac sign. I mean, we take the example of the rubber ducky. I mean, who would ever thought that you would include them in your entire design? You made an example of the shoe. So I think if you are selling, or if you are a business owner who's looking into zodiac sign to expand your business, broaden up your spectrum. Kim has given us enough knowledge for us to know where to start, where to end, and what to include. We then have other questions, Kim. I think I'm going to take 2 for now. It says here, please could you kindly ask Kim, how would she personally market such products? Oh, that's a heavy one.
That is a heavy one. Now, marketing is all about leading your buyer on a certain journey. So
Gotcha.
number one, you need to know who your buyer is. Very, very important. And then secondly, what is your buyer's journey? What are they trying to accomplish in their life that your product or service is helping them do? So for instance, let's say that you're selling, I don't know, exercise equipment. Your buyer would be, let's say moms who are looking to lose that pregnancy belly. And so what you're providing is product that helps moms move through that journey of letting go of the fat that they've picked up by having, a few pregnancies. And so your product series might include some exercise equipment, but it also might include some teas, and it might include, some sleep masks, so they're getting good sleep. Right? So it doesn't have to, your product series does not necessarily need to be focused all on exercise. In other words, the best companies are those that have been able to identify who their target market is and what their journey is, and provide them with all the tools necessary in order to make that happen, to help that person along that buyer journey. Now, you don't have to do that, but that's where you're going to get your most loyal followers.
Sure.
Because you're providing them with every, the education, the tools, the product, the foods, the supplements, the vitamins, everything that they need in order to, for a 20 or 30 something year old woman who's just had a few babies to lose that belly fat.
Gotcha.
So, the exercises, right? So the bottom line is, it really depends.
It really does.
I could give more, the more specific the product or the audience, the more specific answer I could give. But that's my generic answer to most marketing questions.
Got you. We have another one. I think this one has gained some attraction because it keeps on being asked. Is Kim basically trying to say brands/designers use our zodiac signs to target us? Ooh.
Yes, of course they do. Absolutely. All design is designed to get you to buy a product. I mean, it's just, that's the way marketing works. So anytime that you look at two products and they may be the same product, but you gravitate towards one versus the other, there's a reason why you're gravitating to it. It could be the packaging, it could be the look of the product, it could be any number of things, but the goal is, in product and packaging, is to get you to buy that company's brand and not the other company's brand. That's the name of the game. So yes, it's always fun to go into a store and kind of put your marketing glasses on and say, okay, if we stripped all of these down and they all had the same bland white packaging, what product really is good here? That would be good for my health or good to help me, with the goal that I have at this time, what I'm trying to achieve when I'm going out buying something. And to strip away the design that's applied to a product and look more at its function. It's always a real fun project, because what you might find is that functionally that you might find another product that is far better and far more appropriate to your needs than the one that you've been buying, because you've been buying it based on how it looks, because you're intrigued or compelled by the beautiful packaging or the way the packaging makes you feel inside. It makes you feel included and warm and fuzzy and loved in some way. Yeah.
Got you. I think we're not going to take a question, but we're going to take a comment here. As I see it's getting attraction. Please, Zoli, could you tell Kim to reveal more secrets? We are all watching and taking notes. Kim, I think someone might call the FBI on you. You're revealing too much. You are revealing too much, but absolutely, absolutely.
There's
they are
no,
loving you.
this is no secret. There's no secret to this. Okay, so, and you can still see my screen, is that correct?
Yes, yes,
okay, great.
We can still see your screen.
All right, so another product market that is fun, I think it would be fun to touch upon, is the growing world of customizable products. Now, we all love to commemorate special occasions like weddings or births or anniversaries. And the relatively recent advent of digital printing, 3D printing, and other new technological advances have allowed us to inexpensively print a custom message on just one product now, or a small run of product. Astrological imagery is ideal for this type of customization. As an example, here's a coaster set that features the wedding date of a couple and a graphic of where the planets are placed in the night sky on that date. So again, this is customized specifically for a couple and is great as a wedding gift or as a groomsman or bridesmaid's gift or as wedding favors. But astrology is perfect to take advantage of the wedding and event gift-giving opportunities. Now, another example here's an etched glass piece that features the constellations seen in the night sky when a couple first met. So that's pretty cool. Another one, how about a throw of the zodiac signs and constellations of a married couple who may be celebrating a wedding anniversary. And here's another. So, even the zodiac, here's the zodiac symbols have been obviously die cut into some metal, and that's now being used as a wall hanging. But here is something a little different, where the product itself is representing the astrological symbol rather than being printed with the astrological symbols. So bottom line, this is great. Astrology is great because it allows you to take advantage of the wedding and special events market and make product that is unique and specific to a couple or an individual or a place.
Got you. I think, Kim, we are receiving comments. I think our majority of our viewers today are men, because all of them are saying, thank you, Kim. Thank you. You're giving us more ideas. Please don't stop with the ideas. We have one question here, which is oddly off. It is saying I think, Kim, what's happening here is many people are using you to get the inspiration for their gifts, because we have someone who just asked, I like the idea of the trophy where myself and my partner first met. What would you say to a product which uses astrology to describe a mood when we first got engaged? Oh my God.
That's pretty neat.
I mean, that's very creative. That's very, very creative. But again, Kim, people are loving. We have, I'm so sorry here because we have questions that are really popping in. Someone just said, could you please urgently ask Kim, how can astrological elements such as color, shape, and texture be incorporated into product design to appeal to a different zodiac sign?
Well, if you're going to apply, let's say, the name, the title Virgo to a package or a product, then you really are limiting the number of your buying audience. So the way to not limit your buying audience is to keep it as generic as you can in terms of showing the entire zodiac wheel or all the constellations, or, you know, so that there's, or just focusing on sun, moon, stars,
True.
or, you know, the earth in the celestial planetary sphere. But yeah, I wouldn't go real specific, because you always are going to run the risk, the very great risk, no matter what you do in terms of color, texture, or anything else, that if you're applying just like a name, the word Virgo, or the word Virgo with the constellation of Virgo, that you're only going to be of interest, your market is going to be limited, severely limited to just, you know, people born in under that sign and people interested in astrology and believe in astrology. So it's like a 12th of the population, and then take that 12th and then divide that 12th into a third. So, you know, I would stay away from playing with, let's say, putting Virgo, let's say a earth sign with a watercolor, you know, that kind of thing. I think it's not going to work out to your advantage.
Got you. I think I want to take this one. This one is a yes or no. This seems to be a yes or no. This is from Louise_Fontaine. She's asking, does Kim believe the use of astrological signs and symbols on packaging enhance the perceived quality or value of a product?
It can be. It depends on how elevated the design is. So you can take any theme and you can elevate it to luxury, high-end, premium products and sell it for a very high price point. And you can take that same theme, whether it's astrological or anything else, and make it very earthy and grounded and look inexpensive. It really depends on the, you know, the design and the types of inks and the types of the substrate or the board colors that you use. So it's unfortunately a question of depends. But you can apply, for instance, an astrological design to anything, whether it's a high-end luxury product or you know, a very inexpensive piece that's kind of, you know, available to everybody. And I'll show some of those designs as we move forward.
Okay.
So I think they'll get some of their questions answered as we move along.
Yeah, I think we can move on. I kid you not, in the last 10 seconds, we've received over 53 questions. We've received over 53 questions. I think what is happening here, Kim, is that when you speak, you're speaking so much knowledge. Everyone wants to pick your brain. Everyone wants their question answered. Because we see here, every time there's a popular question, it keeps on being highlighted and highlighted. But as Kim said, we will be addressing some of the questions throughout her presentation. Over to you, Kim.
Great. Okay, so now we're going to move from product to packaging. Now, of course, packaging seems pretty obvious in terms of how astrological symbols would be applied, but it's a lot more complex than most of us would imagine. First, I'd like to say that using astrological symbols is an obvious choice when a brand name includes the word zodiac or stars or astrology in the logo or in the name. You know, and here's a few examples of that, where, you know, you're never going to go wrong if the name is Zodiac to use zodiac symbols and imagery on that packaging. And the other thing to think about is how, you know, what colors work well with astrological packaging.
Sure.
Now, one of the things that I found very common with packaging using astrological themes was the finishing technique of metallic inks, metallic foils, and holography. I mean, there is nothing better against dark blue or black that will represent the shine of a star than a metallic. And, you know, it's super eye-catching. It's really going to stand out on a store shelf. And the only thing you'd want to just make sure of is that not everybody in the space is also doing the same thing, so it just blends in. But otherwise, you know, this is a very common thing that you'll see with packaging with utilizing astrological symbols, is the use of holography and metallized foils. The other wonderful thing about this is that holography has made great gains in the past decade. There are now holographic techniques such as cast and cure that are not only inexpensive to apply, it's no longer super expensive to use, but it's also 100% recyclable. So this used to not be the case. You know, for instance, when we look at this bath salt package here that's in a flexible pouch, that holography is not recyclable. However, this new form of holography is, so you can safely say, if you're using, let's say, a paper-based package, that your carton is fully recyclable, which is a great message for marketing purposes, even though it may be utilizing holography. And it's not very expensive.
I guess we're saving money as well.
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, it's great to see that even Gucci is, you know, playing with all of this as well. So you can see here that they have a shopping bag that is utilizing astrological symbols and the constellations and using probably a holographic foil for their name to stand out against that night sky. Now, one of the trends I've noticed while doing research for this presentation is that packaging designers are on occasion breaking the mold when designing with an astrological theme for packaging. In other words, they're being inspired by astrology in the structure of their package. For instance, here's a box designed by the lighter manufacturer, Zippo, where Zippo's created a series of 12 gold lighters, each embellished with a different zodiac symbol or graphic. And they've die cut the container with the shape of the constellation that corresponds to each zodiac. This is then mirrored on the box lid with what appears to be some sort of foil or raised ink. I can't really tell from the photograph, but what I find most interesting with this package is that by utilizing a circular container and applying astrological imagery to a circular container, it mimics the circle of the zodiac wheel. It also mimics the circular shape of the planets and even the circular band of the visible constellations in the tropical zodiac. So although it appears that the lid is, or maybe the outer casing of this carton is square, and I would have said it would have been better if it was circular, I think this is a really well done presentation.
True.
Now, here's a package that's a favorite of mine from Urban Outfitters. This package is not only shaped like a pyramid, which is pretty uncommon shape for packaging, but it's also printed in just two colors, a silver and holographic foil that highlights the graphic of the phases of the moon. Now, again, it's against a black background representing a night sky. And when I looked up about solstices, I'm presuming that they're talking about the winter solstice, since it's black and silver, and those colors kind of relate to the winter. What I found is that there's a unique, every 19 years, the moon becomes full on the winter solstice. And this is called a full cold moon. So it's a rare event. And astrologers look forward to this event every 19 years. Now, what's cool about this package is that the rarity of this event suggests that the products in this package are also rare or unique or exceptional. In other words, like, you're not going to find this everywhere. This is special. Just like, having that full cold moon is a special event. So too is the packaging suggesting that this room spray and candle scent is also really special and unique. So again, the packaging is supporting and elevating the product design or the product itself. Now, here is a package out of China that I thought was a lot of fun. Here, the designers have die cut small holes into the lid of the carton, that represent the phases of the moon and the constellations. And when you move a wheel with your fingers that's set into the side of the carton, the constellation and moon phases light up in bright yellow. So this is a design that actually invites the buyer to interact physically with the carton in such a way that they almost act like a god, right? Who is actively moving the heavens around the celestial sphere. So this is a pretty exciting thing where not only is it the packaging elevating the product, but it's actually elevating the buyer. So as a buyer, you're feeling so special and unique because of your ability to move the heavens, that they're essentially subtly suggesting that you are a god, or maybe that their product is so special that only people with godlike abilities deserve a product like this. So I don't know what the product is. It looks like maybe some inks. I'm not sure. And so I'm not certain if this is a very expensive product or not, but I'm imagining, because of the amount of money spent on printing this carton, that this is probably a pretty expensive gift or product. So again, these are designers that are thinking more about the product and elevating the product and even the user experience and even the feeling the user gets by using the box and opening the box than through the design of the box. So it's not just slapping an astrological design onto a box. There's a whole nother elevated experience around it. And here's a design out of Japan that is also pretty amazing if you really take a look at it. The packaging designer here seems to have printed the letters and part of what I assume is a moon or a comet in the center of the carton in a high gloss UV coating and white opaque ink. Then the stars and the logo are printed in gold metallic foil. And then finally, they've debossed the outline of the moon to give it more depth. And then all of this is printed on a matte black board, which may be vat dyed. So it has this really crazy, great contrast of the high shine metallic against a really deep matte background. But what I find, so from a graphic perspective, it's beautiful, but What is also interesting to note is that the astrological imagery here is implied. It's not overt, right? You're not seeing actual constellations here, or an old-fashioned view of the night sky with the circles and everything else.
Yes, yes.
The designer here has taken inspiration from astrology, but is not actually pulling directly from it. So they've abstracted it in a way. By looking at it, we're looking at a package that appears to be like the night sky, but it's not super obvious. So it gives the packaging a bit of mystery. Like you have to work for it. You have to sit there and look at it and say, what am I looking at? It's abstracted enough that you have to say, like, is that a comet? Is that a moon? Is it moving? Like, what is this? And because of that, you're going to get more interest on a store shelf, because when someone takes a look at, a potential buyer takes a look at this package, it's going to stop them just because it's like a puzzle. They want to figure it out. They want to take a look and okay, what is that? Is that is it a night sky? Is it a comet going through the sky? Is it just an abstract piece of art? So taking inspiration from astrology, you can actually do something very abstract and still be achieving the same goal. And they've raised it again to another level, which is making it mysterious and esoteric. And by making a package mysterious, you're going to draw more buyers to you. And it doesn't even matter what the product is. I have no idea. It might be a bottle of sake. I just have no idea what it is. It really doesn't matter, because like I would pick this package up just to peek inside, because I'd be so intrigued by the design, what's going on there, and is it reflected in the product. So to kind of go in the opposite direction, here's a wine label, where I think the designers did a pretty good job of instilling a feeling of history and longevity with the old looking kind of astrological map illustration in this label. It also, this is a vintage wine. So the idea that this imagery is also supporting the idea of the vintageness or the age of the wine. Well, and yet because of the font selection, it still looks kind of fresh and modern. But, I think what I would also like to point out in general with the labels and packaging that we've seen so far, there's a common theme, which is dark paper, dark board, black or dark blue with hints of light, metallics or metals or holographic images representing the stars.
Yes.
So, that's an obvious way to represent something with astrological theme or imagery, but it doesn't have to always be that way. You can do something a little different. For instance, here's a business card, or maybe it's even like a greeting card, where the constellation of Pisces is die cut into the paper rather than being printed on top of it. And of course, this gives a more textural feel to the card. But what is unique about this card is not only do we see, all these elevated designs for probably luxury product, but here we have something that's printed on basic white card stock with a craft carton for protection. And this does not look rich, right? This looks affordable. And if it's a business card, it's clearly affordable. So this is an example of when an astrological imagery can be applied to something that's not expensive, or not suggesting an expensive product. But what I like about it is that it also makes you think a little bit, because if you shone a light through the holes in that card, you would get a feeling of stars, right? The light shining through is like stars shining through the card, which I think is really pretty clever. You know, it again has, it's not just one dimensional. It has multi dimensions to it, where you pick it up and you interact with it and you hold it up to the sky and let the light shine through it to get a sense of what the stars would look like shining through, that sort of thing. So even if you apply astrological symbols to a background that's not dark blue or black, it can still look really amazing. So don't feel like, you know, you have to go with what everybody else is doing. Really, sky's the limit. So I thought at this point I would go through and do a little bit of wrap up about what I've talked about to date. So basically, astrological symbols and imagery can be used to promote products to a unique but niche group of niche audience. Now, that audience makes up no more than, of course, 30% of the population. So if your product has general appeal, you'll need to do some market research to find those who are most likely believers in astrology before before successfully promoting your product. Astrological imagery can also be used to unite a family of similar products that have one varying component, such as color, scent, or texture, or for product assortments that will be sold together, for instance, with a subscription box. Finally, zodiac symbols can draw attention to product packaging by, for instance, making it feel more mysterious or esoteric. Now, when applying astrological imagery to products or packaging, basically, the more specific the design, the more niche the audience. So, for instance, if you're applying a sun, moon, and stars to packaging, as long as your audience loves your brand, then this sort of imagery will have broad appeal. However, if you're applying an illustration of, let's say, the constellation of Pisces, then you're limiting your potential audience to just those who believe in astrology and were born in the month of March. Another thing to consider is that holography and metallic foils look fantastic against a black or midnight blue background, because they really do a fantastic job of mimicking the shine of a star. There are, as we talked about, there are a number of eco-friendly options on the market now, and some inexpensive options also. So I really, if you're planning on designing packaging in the near future, with astrological imagery, make sure you price out cast and cure or some of the metallic foils into your design, just to see. You may be very surprised how inexpensive these techniques are, and they can really help elevate the design rather than just using, let's say, a yellow ink. Finally, I also encourage you to think about how you can create a package shape or structure that reinforces the astrological imagery that's being printed on the package. Or how could you use die cutting or embossing or debossing to reflect symbols or motifs? For instance, we didn't take a look at any packaging, mostly because I couldn't find any that, let's say, embossed astrological symbols onto a package. but didn't actually print it. So again, it's a beautiful, subtle, textural way to apply an astrological image without being in your face about it. But, bottom line, you can apply astrological symbols and graphics to any type of product or packaging, as long as it reflects the unique qualities of your brand. You're going to be fine.
True.
So that's it. Thank you so much for having me on. This has been a lot of fun. I'm certainly happy to answer any other questions.
There's a ton. When I say ton, I think that's an understatement for you, Kim. I think firstly, before we even go too far, I want to thank you for just bracing us with your presence and also giving us tricks and do's for this tricky industry. I think we have a question here. It says here, why do you think astrological themes and styles appeal to millennial creatives?
Well, the one thing that we've all, from the very beginning as cavemen, have looked up at the night sky and wondered what the heck those lights were. So it's been an intrigue. It's been something that we've been trying to puzzle out and understand from the very beginning of our existence. And so it's like an archetype. It's something that is embedded, I think, in our DNA, that we, as humans, love understanding, the ocean, what's under the ocean, what's on the top of the earth, exploring. We love exploring. We love understanding our surroundings. And the night sky is inaccessible, mostly to us, right? And so understanding it has been something that has intrigued us from day one. And I obviously, and when we talked about 5,000 years ago, they were writing down in India ideas of what it was like. What did the constellations mean? So when you were born, what kind of characteristics would you be born with? Because at that time, and a lot of us still believe this to this day, but back then they believed it even more, that we are all one. We are all one entity. The earth and us and the cosmos, we're all one great big organism. And because of that, if something happens in the cosmos, like an eclipse or a comet passing by, the ancients believed, and people even to this day believe, that it was a portent, or something would happen on the earth plane that would reflect that change in the usual system of the night sky. So I think it's really understandable why we are all so intrigued by it. And I think the other thing too is there's the uptick of interest in the last decade probably has a lot to do with the younger generations, Zoomers and millennials are not so much interested in religion anymore. They don't feel that the organized religions answer their questions satisfactorily. And so they're looking to other systems to answer the questions about existence. Why are we here on the earth plane? What's our purpose? And astrology is, I think, easily accessible on the internet. And I think it may resonate quite a bit with the younger generation who's looking for a system like this to help them understand the world around them.
That is quite powerful here. We are then, okay, Kim, again, some people are showing you some love. We have here a comment that says, Kim's insights on incorporating astrology into product design and packaging were absolutely fantastic. Her knowledge and expertise on the topic are truly impressive. And then an emoji of someone clapping hands and showing some love. They say, marketing expert hashtag image appeal. Again, Kim, we then move on to the second one, which goes, Kim's marketing wisdom on using astrology in product design and packaging was truly invaluable. Her ability to create meaningful, personalized experiences is a true gift. Kim, I mean, we went from you saving marriages to you basically being a therapist to you being a wonderful being. I think people are truly falling in love with you. I think we're going to move over to a question just right here. It says here, how can a brand use astrological insights to inform their product development process, such as identifying new trends or consumer preferences?
Yeah, that's a
mouthful. A mouthful.
Question.
A mouthful indeed.
Yeah, I'm much better at relating to very specific questions. So like if somebody says, here's a product idea that I'm working on, how could I apply astrology to this product series? Then I can answer that a lot more easily. But again, I always go back to, no matter what, look at your audience. Who is your audience? If they're folks that are, if you're selling a product that's a new age product, meaning it's crystals or soaps or candles, then astrology, you can put anything on it that's astrological and it's great. It's a perfect match there. If you're doing making product that is celebrating a birthday or a special event, again, perfect match. But if you have a more generic, general product that you're selling, then you need to relate it to a color, a texture, a feel, like a personality trait or a zodiac sign, something to that effect. And then you also have to be aware that you are going to be limiting your audience space potentially, because not all of, think about the beauty example that we gave.
Yes.
And so you have all those beautiful colors in that wheel. Well, as a Pisces, I would be much less likely to buy 3 or 4 of those and just buy that one for Pisces. And if I didn't like that color, then I wouldn't buy any. But that's me, and I love astrology, so that's great. But what happens if someone doesn't believe in astrology at all? They're more likely not to buy that product. So finding out about your customer is number one priority from a marketing perspective. Who are they? What are their interests? What drives them? Do they have a journey that you're helping them through? Those are the things that you want to think about. And then the trends, that comes later, trending. So for instance, if your product is trendy and is of interest to people who are into trendy items, and I don't know who that population would be, but let's say maybe it's the 18 to 25-year-olds in the beauty industry, or who are really into the latest and greatest makeup opportunities. Then you would want to, stay on top of the color trends and the design trends. So for instance, they may translating the astrology into, let's say, a geometric image. The geometric image, although it's been popular for a while now, is a very trendy graphic design motif. So you could translate the astrological constellations into, rather than, into like geometric shapes. And those geometric shapes may be colored with trendy colors. And that way you stay on top of, you're staying on trend. But it's not appropriate if your audience of buyers are not into trendy, they're not young, they're not into trendy stuff. Yeah. So number one, you got to know your audience. And then once you know your audience, that will inform the design, the colors, and that sort of thing.
I think what from the questions, what is emerging, and I think this is me just taking, what Kim is trying to say is creatives always know who you're targeting, know them to the T, know their favorite color, and move from there. Because what you don't want to find yourself doing is targeting as Kim made an example, an exercise gym equipment only to target the wrong crowd. Know your people, understand your people, take time to know your people. There's various ways, I think Kim also mentioned throughout her presentations, on how we can get to know our people. She made fantastic examples: the shoe, the cup, the duck. I think what stood out for me in this entire presentation is the duck. The duck. I remember exactly what you said when the duck came on. We're going to another question here. It says, this question's all the way from Egypt. It says there, please could you ask Kim, are there any challenges or potential drawbacks to using astrology in product design and packaging? And how can these be avoided?
The downside is, again, if your target audience of buyers are not into it, they don't believe in it. Okay, so for instance, you want to make sure that you're using astrological images that are appropriate for where you live regionally. So for instance, if I was creating packaging for China, I would not use Western astrological imagery and themes. I would use Chinese astrological themes and imagery. But of course, you can always avoid all of this if you use astrological imagery as inspiration and not, exactly apply old style graphic images from the Middle Ages, as an example, onto the product or packaging. So remember those last few boxes from China and Japan that we were looking at, where the designs were super abstract, or the one in Japan in particular was quite abstract. It almost looked like an abstract piece of art, and it only hinted at astrology. Now, if you go that route, then you're fine. It doesn't matter. Then it's kind of like a piece of art that, makes you feel as if it might be a night sky with the stars and the moon. But it's not an obvious, like, here's the moon and here are the stars and here are the constellations. So, the more creative you can be to use astrological symbols as inspiration and not overtly applying them to a product or packaging, the more likely you will have a broad base of interest in the design. And then what you're talking about is, what colors will support the product or support sales on the store shelf. Is the product a luxury piece and it costs a lot of money? So you want your packaging then to be elevated, or the labels to look really elevated and beautiful and expensive to reflect the expense of the product. So think high-end perfume would be a perfect example of that. Like, you don't want to put a high-end perfume necessarily in a craft package. You want that package to really just be truly gorgeous, because you want the package to reflect the product inside. So there are all sorts of other considerations based on what the product is, who the audience is. But yeah, I would say in general, if you abstract the imagery, then you're not going to run into much trouble.
Oh, I love that. We then have Ember McFarland, who says, this is a very broad one, but I think she used a Gucci as an example, but I'm going to read it out loud. Ember is asking, what are some examples of brands that have successfully incorporated astrology into the product, into product design and packaging, and what can the takeaway be from them?
So take a specific example. Is that what they're asking? Use a
Yes,
specific.
basically, yeah. Because I mean, you use the Gucci one, you use the candles, you use. So I think they're basing it on the examples that you gave. Now that the whole entire world knows that your candle is going to be a Pisces and it's going to have an earthly soft.
Well, I think that each product design has a different takeaway. If we look at the Gucci bag, I think it was very interesting that they applied the holography to the name and the logo and not to the stars. So that was a very, specific choice that the designer made, where they wanted the name to appear more like this star than the actual stars themselves. So that, in my mind, that a takeaway from that bag, paper bag, is that Gucci is actually amongst the heavens, the real star. It's like more of a star than the actual stars. And I think for those in the fashion world or who love Gucci fashion, they would probably agree that, yeah, Gucci's amazing. They're
Yes.
So, you can relate the design of packaging to, just about anything. But, also what they did is the designers were pretty traditional in the sense that they designed a dark blue background with the constellations printed on top of that, kind of in dark blue, just like a lot of people do that dark blue. So, and then that pop of color with the holography of the Gucci logo. So, their design's a little more traditional, but then so too are their audience. The Gucci world is not crazy creative. They're highbrow, they're high end, and expensive pieces, but they're more traditional in certain respects. So I think that is actually a perfect design for what who their audience is. Somewhat traditional, but Gucci is the star. Just great.
It's the main attraction. We're going to move. I think, people are showing you love. I do not want to lie to you. People are showing. Just got some great tips from Kim on how to measure everything that our business is aimed on designing. This includes product design and packaging. Can't wait to drive the data and see how our customers are responding. And then we move on. It says, I was blown away by Kim marketing insights on using astrology in product design and packaging. I think most of these comments are coming through. They are really indeed in love with you. They are in love with you and they are going there. They then ask, can the use of astrology in product design and packaging help to create a more emotional connection?
Yeah, absolutely. Astrology, because it's of interest to a niche group, and especially if you narrow it down to, let's say, only Leos for a particular product. So then you're looking at a very small group of people who are Leos and believe in astrology. If you play upon the personality traits of a Leo, whether you do it overtly by printing the personality traits or representing the personality traits through color and texture, or the product itself reflects the product traits, you are then creating a product that only a small niche group of people are going to be interested in, but it makes them feel like they're part of a community and that your brand understands them. So, there's a reason why personality traits are represented with different zodiac signs. Now, granted, they're not all true. So not all Leos are outgoing extroverts who want to be the star of the show, and great salespeople. Not all Leos are like that. However, a good percentage of them are. And if you are, working with, let's say, the Leo as an example, and letting them know that you understand exactly who they are that type of person, and you love them for this, and you're giving them an outlet for communicating with, I don't know, maybe other Leos in the industry, or that you're providing them with a series of products that will be of interest to someone who's a extreme extrovert sales type of person. They're going to be your most loyal customers. Although they're a very niche group, the fact that you understand them to such a degree is going to make all the difference, because we all want to be loved and we all want to be understood for who we are inside. And if you're able to tap into the personality of somebody by using astrology, do it. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, if you have an opportunity to, create a product or service that is loved by someone within a certain zodiac sign, and they feel like you get them, you understand what they need, you're going to have a customer for life. So that is an emotional reaction to a product. So again, like, the design does not have to be all that unusual, unique, or whatever, but instead what you're doing is you're relating maybe the product, what those people need in terms of product in order to feel heard and understood and loved. So yeah, you absolutely could use astrology in that way. And then, thematically and design wise as well. But there's no better thing than to feel like a product gets you, and you're understood by that company, and that you feel a part of a community. I mean, think about Apple, right? People are incredibly passionate about Apple Macintosh computers. And, they'll stand in line forever to get their iPhone. And then there's all these unboxing videos of people unboxing, their iPhone or their iPad. And they just love, and people keep the boxes because they, the design, they feel like Apple understands. And for me as a graphic designer, I feel like Apple understands what I need in terms of the tools and the equipment I need in order to do my job. And I've been a loyal Macintosh user from day one. So I'll never probably end up using a PC because I have this loyalty to Apple. And it's not that I have a loyalty to their design, but I feel like they understand who I am from a career perspective, from a professional perspective. And so, yeah, that's great. It's not a bad thing.
I think what stands out from there is what we are noticing, even within the creative arts, is that brands, designers, you name it, are giving it a personal touch. I mean, gone are the days where your phone just rings. These days, your phone rings and it tells you, "Good morning, good sir. Good morning, King. Somebody is calling you." I think COVID did a number on us. Brands understand that, and they want that connection between the brand and yourself. They will call you by name. They will send you packages. There's nothing as heartwarming as receiving something that knows who you are, that understands where you are at that exact moment, your pains, your celebrations, and along the way it celebrates them with you, and it's also able to transcend, and basically, in a long story short, says, "Let me hold your hand through this difficult journey called life." We have, I think, Kim, we have about 153 questions coming at a time, but I think I'm going to take my top five and also ask you my personal question. It says here, how can a brand measure the success of their astrological themed product? And would you say, given the example that you used of earth, fire, okay, I don't know, I think it went left there, would you call them themes under the astrological sign?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that the zodiac is bucketed, as we see in that graphic, into earth, air, fire, water. So absolutely, you could say that those elements are astrological. So if you were doing other astrological things, you could have the series of 4, earth, air, fire, water, constellations, whatever. But yeah, it would all work under an umbrella of astrology. In terms of how do you figure ROI from a package, really the only way you could do that would be as an A/B test. And that's usually not affordable for most folks, where you would create, as an example, 2 different packages going to the same audience demographic, but each package has a different design on it. And you then send it out and see, which one sells better over the course of a few months. And then if one particularly stands out, then you know that you've hit a target there. So, it's, unless you have other ways of determining metrics or measuring metrics, that's usually kind of, a fallback, which is testing 2 different designs, but it would have to be obviously on the same group of people. You want to make sure you're measuring apples to apples, and you're only changing one variable, which would be, let's say, the design of the package, but everything else is remaining the same. Then you can also do target testing. Again, costs money, so most companies don't do this, but you could. Yeah, I've heard of companies that have gone onto into a store like a supermarket, and then they place their product amongst all the other product on the store shelf. And then they video people walking by looking for deodorant or whatever it is they're looking for. And then they see if they stop and look at their product, and how often do they stop and actually pick it up and want to buy it. And then if they do pick it up, you interview them and ask them, well, why did you pick this up and not the name brand that's right next to it? And so then you can learn a lot about, what general buyers think, if they're picking it up because they were like, wow, this packaging is really amazing, and I just had to try it because I was so intrigued. Well, you've hit a home run with that consumer, because your product potentially is unknown next to a well-known brand. They are not buying your product because of brand recognition. They're buying your product from packaging design, right? So that's something that's done all the time with the larger packaging companies to, test designs. How are these designs in comparison to big brand names? So yeah, it's all about how can you test things to determine, how well something is selling.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think, listen, ladies and gentlemen, and dear creatives, don't be scared to approach your target market and just ask questions. Is as easy as that? This question comes in twofold. I am a young web designer. Please can Kim give me her personal advice on how to be an exceptional product and, okay, I think I lost her there, product designer?
I really like looking at what other people have done. And, Pinterest is a great platform for that. There's a lot of packaging designs on Pinterest that you won't find, let's say, by doing a Google search. Also, joining some organizations that have, like Dieline is a great organization to join, because they are constantly reviewing the best in packaging, and then sending you emails. And so the more you saturate yourself with what others consider really high-end good design, and they'll explain why they think that, the more ideas you'll get from all of this. So really, I would surround yourself with as many designs as you can, and then kind of start picking out what you love, and you know, create your own Pinterest page with those designs that you think are really wonderful, so that you have a design inspiration for a project. So when a project comes up, you're not just stuck in the woods going, okay, now what do I do? You go to your Pinterest page that has been built with all sorts of design ideas, and you can work from there. You know, gain inspiration from the designs you've pulled. And, you know, you can usually find inspiration from anything, really. But I think just like a writer needs to write constantly. If you want to be a writer, you need to write every day. And it's the same with design. If you want to be an exceptional packaging designer, you want to be at least looking at beautiful packaging designs every day. And over time, then it becomes a natural process. You'll know what you like and what you don't like, and what works for different product and what doesn't. But while you're getting started, the best thing is just to read what others have done, why people think that, you know, this package is really a nice package for this product. And conferences are great for that reason as well, where you can hear people talk about design and why they designed for this way for this product. But the least expensive way is, you know, start building your own packaging inspiration page on Pinterest.
Got you. Got you. I think I'm going to close it off with two more lovely comments. It says here, we have one. Kim's insights on using astrology to create limited edition or seasonal packaging designs were spot on. Her ability to tap into the emotional connection between consumers and astrology is truly impressive. Kim, as I said, you are getting fans. Seemingly people are loving you all over the world. We then have another one where it says, I can't thank Kim enough for sharing her expertise on everything. Her thoughtful approach is top tier, and I wish this webcast could continue for the next 4 hours. Kim, are you ready for the challenge? I guess the next one will have to continue for the next, the entire day, basically. The entire day, basically. But Kim, do you have any final closing words that you might have?
Just that, you know, don't be afraid to utilize any sort of design, as long as, like I said before, it's supporting the brand. So, you know, you want to make sure that it's appropriate for the brand, that there's not a big disconnect with astrology, and that the brand has nothing to do with astrology, which is fine. But that if that's the case, that there's an understanding with the marketing department that they're going to be marketing to this segment. But you know, there is so many graphic images related out there from, I mean, the crazy number of medieval astrological imagery from which you can pull from for a design. It's everywhere. So if you wanted to do a historically themed piece, that's super easy to do. You'll be able to find all sorts of information out there, or graphic images on stock photos and everything else. But, you know, I also encourage people to just find inspiration from astrology and not just take an astrological image, stock image and slap it on. You can do that. There's nothing wrong with that. That might be perfect for what you need to do to make that package sing. But I think, to find other ways to address astrology, personality traits, interaction, shape, and structure, that's where you're going to start get some excitement.
Sure.
So don't limit yourself to just, looking on the stock photo websites for astrological imagery. Kind of go for it. Do your own thing. Be super creative and have fun. This is like such an amazing, graphically rich and robust theme that you can kind of go wild with it, really. And please send me, if you do work with astrological imagery, send me your designs. I would love to see them. And I will update this presentation with your designs. And maybe we'll do another one with our favorite designs from around the globe.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. I think the key word for me that she said, Kim, was have fun. Have fun. Astrology is absolutely amazing. I kid you not, it is absolutely amazing. Once you tap into your creativity, you have an unlimited buckets of knowledge. You have an unlimited supply of inspiration. Well, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of ImageAppeal and Kim, I'd like to thank you for joining us for this creative space. Thank you. And also focused on the web graphic design to transform your brand's online presence. We hope you found insights and inspiration shared by our experts, including the talented Kim. Anything else to add, Kim? People are, I kid you not, people are going, can she please say one more advice? People are saying, Kim, one more thing.
Oh gosh. I don't know. I think it's been said, really take advantage of new finishing techniques. That's another one we've talked about today. But there's so many exciting, things being developed now with AI and AR and, there's all sorts of technological advances that we didn't talk about. I mean, we didn't talk about the future of where, packaging design may be heading. But, for instance, I think AR is an obvious. So it would be amazing to see where we're going to be heading in the next 15, 20 years, but we may all be seeing, Star Wars-esque holographic imagery to promote things. And so to use astrological image in a 3D space would be fantastic, right? So it's no longer thinking flat. So a package is flat, right? It's a flat surface, and when we're printing a flat image, and we can make it a little bit more dimensional by cutting holes into the flat surface or embossing into that flat surface. But what about if we have a 3D immersive experience of the heavens?
Oh.
Right? And I think that's where we're going next. And we're going to need designers to be designing this digital 3-dimensional world. And I think by the time, in 20 years, this is going to be something that we're looking at, which is really exciting.
It really is. It really is. It really is. At ImageAppeal, we believe your website should be more than just a digital storefront. It should be an extension of your brand's unique personality and vision. Our team of expert web graphic designers are dedicated to bringing your vision to life through innovative, custom solutions that truly capture the essence of your brand. If you're ready to take your brand's online presence to the next level, we invite you to explore our portfolio and connect with us to learn more about our services. With ImageAppeal by your side, you can trust that your brand will outshine all of them. Ladies and gentlemen, dear creative community, and from the bottom of our hearts, I want to thank you so much for joining us and granting us with your presence. Ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are in the world, have a great cup of coffee on me. But thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good one. Bye-bye for now.